Ladies, gentlemen, and all you beautiful people in between, my name is Dick Slater, and welcome back. Last video, I reviewed Season 1 of UmaMusume Pretty Derby, and today we shall jump straight back into it. So get ready for spoilers because this is 2021's UmaMusume Pretty Derby Season 2. Wait, well, between the first and second season, obviously something happened. So what was it? Development hell. Based on my findings, UmaMusume the game was supposed to release in 2018. However, because of Season 1 of the anime, things had changed. Apparently the game didn't take the racing as seriously and was gonna be a lot more lighthearted and fanservice-y. After the developers took a look at the anime that was being made, they decided to steer direction and focus on being more like that. And started all the way from scratch on the project, causing a massive delay to 2021. And there being practically complete radio silence on the project for those 3 years, with the sole exception of the VTuber videos of Goldship on the PackaTube channel, which is the only thing keeping the franchise alive in this period. Well, there was one big thing that was released in that time period, 2019's BNW Oath special. But before that, there's a little something that needs to be addressed. This 3-part special takes place seemingly right after episode 13 of Season 1, but also somehow before it. So you may be wondering, why did I skip over this episode in my first review?
Good question.
I wanted to keep the first video limited to only Season 1 spoilers, but episode 13 spoils the entirety of Season 2, right at the start. You've had your warning for this one, so let's dive right in. It starts with Special Week sending a letter to her mother, where she just lays out all the interesting things that we didn't get to see, and outright states that Teo does not get to achieve her dreams. Very absurd, but to take into consideration, this is a bonus episode in a first season where they had no idea if there would even be a second one. Hell, they had no idea if the game was gonna be released at this rate, and with that in mind, things start to make a little more sense. Most of the episode is just fluff, stating things that already happened, which would have been more interesting to see on screen. Half of it isn't even interesting to talk about when referring to the real-life races. There's no substance to it. I'll still go over it nonetheless. Special Week loses to Grass Wonder at the Rimakinen. It was a photo finish and Special Week's final race. Goldship did indeed race in the 2014 Prix de l'Arc de Triomphe. Vodka and Scarlet had the rivalry. They later make reference to Vodka winning the 2008 Tenno Show Autumn by 2 centimeters. Spachan meets with Suzuka after the latter strut to America, and both get ready to race in the Winter Dream Trophy. Remember that whole thing? After the title card, we are shown everyone who's going to participate in the race, at a fancy-looking party. Everybody's dressed for the occasion, but Okino and Hana are bums with only one outfit to their name. Okino lays out a bit of his backstory, how he met Suzuka and such. He speaks of how he desired for Suzuka to run, which I detailed the perils of that and Suzuka's jockey, Takatake, in my first video. We're also shown that Goldship was the only person that stayed on Okino's team after his 2 other members were left for a— God damn, that's a big forehead! Well, back to the Dream Trophy. We're shown that now the whole team of Spica is ready for the race. This means that as of this time, they had all retired. We're shown some whack animation with TM Opera's face. A cameo by the GOAT! Roar! I love Sunvisor! The race itself generally matches the commercial it was based on, although the lineup of horses is somewhat different. The outcome is the same though, with the winner being unclear, as it seems that everyone ties for first. The biggest cop-out possible. But what were you expecting, really? At the winning live, where for the first time we see all the participants on stage, Okino once again gropes a young UmaMusume by the thighs, as a callback to his first appearance with Special Week. Still really weird and out of pocket, man. The girl herself is notable though, as it seems this was an early design they had for Kitas and Black. Putting them side by side, you can see a very strong resemblance. And that's where it ends. Yeah, this episode was bad. Within the context of its release, it all makes sense. We didn't know if this franchise was ever gonna go anywhere, so let's just go all out and have a fun send-off for the characters. Nothing more than a victory lap. Although even with that in mind, it still feels a bit hollow and weird. And will very quickly make 0 sense the moment you start watching anything that came after it. This is an episode I generally recommend to people to avoid watching just generally, you know what I mean? You really don't lose out anything by skipping it. I left it out of the Season 1 review for a reason, and will pretend that it does not exist for the sake of being fair to that season's ranking, as I don't want it dragging it down. Episode 13 is gonna go to the gutter, because starting from Season 2, the series will ignore its existence, and so will I. Now with that out of the way, let's move on to the BNW special. This 3-parter revolves around the BNW trio, Biwa Hayahide, Narita Taishin, and Winning Ticket. The 3 horses would face each other often, although the whole BNW thing was just a marketing stunt by the JRA to drive Hub towards these upcoming races. Despite all performing decently, there wasn't anything ground-shattering with any of these 3, so it really is just for marketing and nothing else. The first episode starts off at the 1994 Tenno Show Autumn race. Narita Taishin was injured as is shown, despite being in the leading contenders to win. Biwa Haida finished 5th while winning ticket placed 8th. Nice Nature is also present and places 7th. In the real-life version of this race, future UmaMusume, Matakana Tanahoiza, and Royce and Royce are also present, placing 4th and 3rd respectively. We see all 3 members of BNW in anguish. As for the real-life Biwa Haida and winning ticket, this would be their final race. Jumping ahead, we see all of Team Speaker training together. It seems that Hichiyama's own holding the finish line was replaced with a simple cardboard cutout, which will stay there for the rest of the series. They start conversing and Spechan mentions embarrassing herself at the Winter Dream Trophy. We also see that Suzuka is still in America as of this point. Where the hell are we in the timeline? I have zero clue when this takes place and I'm half sure the writers don't know either. Okina lets the party know that they're in charge of handling the school festival, and the next 5 minutes are dedicated to introducing a bunch of new faces, basically side games flexing all the cool horses they bought the rights to. Interestingly, we're shown very early versions of each character. We're first introduced to Yukino Bijin, who seems to have a rivalry going on with Harurara, which is actually something that later seasons will keep consistent. I could not tell you if anything shown here matches up with their in-game personality. Frankly, I do not care for this little goomba of an NPC, it's just the Yepper's woman to me. Anyway, we're then shown Gold City, who was described as one of the most beautiful horses in all of Japan. It seems early characterization of her was more of a cosmetologist, while her final iteration shows her to be a model. Biko Pegasus appears, and it seems that her personality is the same. Her outfit, however, is very different. Heiichi Akabono comes to take her away. Akabono herself not seeming much different either, just being the big girl of the school. Little fun fact though, Biko Pegasus, who was abnormally small, and Heiichi Akabono, who was abnormally big, both raced against each other often in real life. Must have been a real interesting sight. We then meet Manhattan Cafe. With the exception of her eyes, she looks about the same, but acts very differently. From what it seems, she went through a variety of different iterations. Originally, her concept was that of a yandere, but this was changed and she appears in this special as simply coffee obsessed and not much else. In her finalized personality, she still has a preference for coffee, but much of her characterization revolves around the supernatural and generally creepy things. We're shown a clip of the 93 Japanese Derby. After exiting the gate, one of the girls falls over, a reference to Katsumi Binai being thrown off his horse Multimax. Winning ticket wins the Derby, and Biwa and Taishin come in 2nd and 3rd respectively. The student council shows it to Speaker to let him know that these 3 used to be very good friends, and to present this awful drawing that has been colored outside of the lines. Shame on you! The idea presented is to hold a relay race to get BNW back on the menu. With a lifetime of supplies of Sweetsu on the line, Team Speaker gets right on the case and starts recruiting people for the race. We see more of the school festival, and in Super Creek's ear cleaning room we see a cameo from Queen Berry, the girl that faced off against Spechan in her debut race. In Ancient Flash Bakery, we get another cameo and it's of YA! I love Sun Visor, man! Half of the episode passes and only Biwa Haida seems to have agreed to the relay race. The other 2 are seemingly still out of reach. During a Speaker slumber party, we're shown that Dawa Scarlet injured her eye as a woodchip flew right into it. This happened to the real-life Dawa Scarlet right before the 2008 Dubai Cup. Special Week gets the bright idea to recreate the bike scene between her and Okino to convince winning ticket, stealing his lines word for word, bar for bar. She really thought she was him. This still works on winning ticket, however, and she agrees to join the relay race. By the way, throughout these episodes, some Chinese proverbs or word definitions or whatever the hell keeps appearing on the screen like it's Fist of the North Star or something. This happens here and nowhere else in the series. But moving right on to episode 2, at the start of the episode we see teams training while chanting the word sweets. This is the gag that will stay consistent throughout the rest of the series. And this episode has a large focus on Dawa Scarlet as she checks up on each team of the relay race. The teams are divided by their classic race wins. Team W are Japanese Derby winners. Team B are Kikaku Show winners. Team N are Satsuki Show winners. During her Team W visit, I look forgot that this was Admar Vega's first appearance, as she's a major character in Road to the Top, and is very insignificant here. Team B is holding up a meeting where Matakana Fukutaro is sitting eerily still. That is all. In her Team N visit, she gets glomped by her dad, and we're shown that these guys are doing nothing all day except ore farming. Each of them strikes a pose of Kamen Rider. Mihona Bourbon as Kamen Rider Kabuto, Seaman Sky as Kamen Rider Black, Agnes Sakeon as Kamen Rider W, Tiyamopra O as Kamen Rider Dano, Shakur as Kamen Rider Build, and Goldship as Kamen Rider 1. Surprised that Biko Pegasus didn't show up in the scene, as it's obvious that she's very Kamen Rider inspired. Scarlet finds out that most of Team N doesn't even know who Taishin is, and goes to recruit her by herself. It seems that Taishin is considering outright retirement. Thus, Scarlet enlists Brian for help. but not before doing that thing you're absolutely not supposed to do at these kinds of events, and like to Rudolph seeing that Taishin is on board. Brian realized exactly what Taishin was going through. She speaks of how she felt at the Tenno show, and more specifically the Hanshin Daishoden, which would end up being the race that Taishin made his comeback in. This seems to move Taishin a little, so much so that she starts joking it on the spot. Brian gives a 4-leaf clover to Taishin. I know it's a different one, but I like to imagine they're just reusing the same crusty-ass clover that Special Week and Suzuka had last season. It's the day of the race, and tensions rise as Broya makes an appearance to spectate. Scarlet is worried since Taishin never gave an official statement on whether or not she was gonna show up, but it seems that BBW is way ahead of her, getting the help of none other than Sunvisor! Oh yeah! Honestly, if this was me handling this, she'd be the main event. Narita Taishin who? Unfortunately, she's just here to act as a body double in case Taishin doesn't appear. It seems that Awan is helping to find Taishin. There's a lot of filler scenes here just showing characters we've seen before, including this roof shot of... Who the hell is that? Smart Falcon is interviewing the team leaders, asking them each a question. Now, Sunvisor and Taishin may have the same height, but these two sound nothing alike. Taishin's voice is rather deep, meanwhile, Sunvisor's is rather squirrel-esque. You may be wondering how it would ever fool anyone, but of course, it's simply the fact that Sunvisor's acting is too good. The race starts. There's a whole sideshow with Ogre Camp and an eating contest, but it's just filler. Regardless, despite the disguise having worked, these two idiots start sabotaging their own plan and start asking Taishin to come over on national television, all while being told that Taishin was right there, as if actively trying to blow Sunvisor's cover, even though it was their idea. I'm not gonna lie, somehow this of all things gave me secondhand embarrassment for Sunvisor. She stands her ground firm though. God bless. This does seem to be effective, as Taishin starts to run towards them, and this is where we get to the finale. With episode 3, the race continues. After she's done her part, my aunt Top Gun blows a kiss to the audience. Something his jockey, Seiki Tabara, would commonly do after a win. Falcon asks some more questions out of the team leaders. She makes a joke about Bio having a big head, yet Bio just sits down and no crash out. Brian immediately clocks this as alarming. Falcon asks a question to Sunvisor. This time, however, Sunvisor freezes up when questioned. Falcon is about to pull down her hood, but conveniently, the real Taishin arrives just in time. Sunvisor reveals herself to the people, and this is the last time we'll see her in any piece of UmaMusume media. Wait, what? No, please, no. Sunvisor, don't leave me!
Why God? Why God?
I don't want to do this no more. The thought of Sunvisor being forgotten was so cringe it hospitalized Haide. Seeing this, Brian rushes in and offers to take her place. The show goes on, and Taishin takes first place. Except she's disqualified because, you know what? Everyone is disqualified. A lot of small superfluous moments catch up with each team, as they appear to have all broken rules at some point, each one being its own reference. Here's a breakdown. Goldship finds a shortcut and warps in front of everyone. This is a reference to the 2012 Goldship Warp at the Satsuki show. Special Week dropped her sash mid-race, a reference to how Yutaka Take dropped his stick in the 1998 Japanese Derby while riding Special Week. Major McQueen was demoted from first to last place at the 91 Tenno show due to obstruction. Rudolph saves face from the fact that you have no winners by saying, "Look forward to the race at Osaka High." For now, this actually helps up the crowd and everybody celebrates. Another slumber party, and the girls realize that Dawa Scarlet isn't with them. She's off aura farming in the middle of nowhere. I have no idea what she's doing, but I guess she really did turn into a chuny. At the end, we're shown the Osaka High race. It is one of those things where despite the fact the race is real, it doesn't really reflect any specific race that happens in real life, and reference only some things from other races. For example, Goldship went up to the crowd and hit the Michael Jackson entrance. He really did do that, you know? Sunglasses and all. It is also where the 12 billion yen incident is created. Except instead of 12 billion yen, it's Okino taking his team out for dessert. Biwa Heihide wins, and that's where the BNW special ends. This OVA was pretty fun. As it was with Season 1, it still has flaws and a lot of those same growing pains. As I said in my last videos, a lot of characters here don't act the way you'd expect them to. And you can very clearly see that the most with winning ticket in this special. If all my exposure of her character was only from this three-parter, I would not be able to tell you anything about who she is as a person. It has that Season 1 issue where right at the start it introduces all these characters and does nothing with them. Again, the game has not released at this point, so it would be confusing more than anything. But watching it now, it can be quite amusing to see the early renditions of all these characters that you know of. It definitely does benefit from the fact that none of it actually takes away from the story at hand. And using a school festival to do it was a smart move. Surprisingly, Dallas Cow stood out to me in the special. Despite not necessarily having too much of a focus, she had some really fun moments in episode 2. And I messed with the eye patch parody look. Honestly, I wish there was an option in the game to give her this eye patch. Another standout character was Narita Bryan, who I enjoyed the on-screen presence of. To be frank, I didn't really care much for her before watching this. Oh yeah, bonus fun fact. Since they both appear here and I completely forgot to mention in my last video, neither Broya or Sunvisor have ear accessories to designate them as male or female. In my neck of the woods, they call this type of character design Jobbercore. This special had a lot more straight entertainment value. Just a fun, feel-good storyline that doesn't attempt anything ambitious. It feels like a significantly better send-off to Season 1 compared to Episode 13. It may as well be part of the season, but judging it as its own thing for what it is, a standalone OVA, I quite like it. And with that in mind, I place it directly above Season 1 in the ranking. Now, let's go through 3 years of development hell, and get right into what you've all been waiting for. Releasing alongside the game in 2021 is UmaMusume Pretty Derby Season 2. We kick off with the 1984 Japanese Derby, where the undefeated Symboli Rudolph takes first place. After the race, Marzensky comes to congratulate her on the win, with Rudolph remarking it was only due to Marzensky not participating, a reference to the fact that Marzensky was foreign bred, and you already know the whole deal with that. Interestingly though, even if that wasn't the case, Marzensky was a horse from the 70s. There would have been no way for him to race at the same time as Rudolph. A baby Teo emerges from the crowd. She says she wants to be just like Rudolph, and these grown-ass reporters laugh her off. That's a kid, man. Grow up. Wait, I wasn't talking to you. We see modern-day Teo getting ready for school. On the wall is her goal for the season, to be an undefeated Triple Crown winner. On the TV, we see that Major McQueen has won the 1991 Tenno Show Spring. They also mention that Teo is currently undefeated with 5 wins under her belt. She says goodbye to her roommate, Mayano Top Gun, before leaving. And I could swear to you that we'll never see Mayano leave that bed for the rest of the season. She hums Omapyoi Densetsu as she reaches a food truck to buy an extra thick, extra rich, extra heavy on the honey. Funny honey. This is very important. Team Speaker is informed by Okino that they'll be hosting the Open Campus this year. From a group of future assembly line workers, we are officially introduced to Kineson Black and Satono Diamond, who seem to be big fans of Teo and McQueen respectively. During the tour, we see Dataku Helios screaming into the stump. Despite not mentioning a name, she's very likely talking about Daishi Ruby, whom defeated Helios twice in a row by this point. It's likely that she didn't mention the name as they didn't have the rights for the horse yet, although she would eventually be added to the game. Coincidentally, during the scene, we spot Major Palmer in the background. Foreshadowing. While giving another tour, Airgrove has a picture taken of her with a flash turned on, which startles her. This is a reference to a historic event where the flashes of camera scared Airgrove during the 96 Shuka show, causing her to lose a race and injure her leg. This incident caused their JRA to permanently ban flashing lights during races. Later on, Nice Nature and Teo have lunch together. We're shown that Nature received an injury at some point, as her real-life counterpart got periostitis. Nice Nature is part of Team Canopus, and her newest member, Jet Turbo, makes her appearance and declares herself to be Tokai Teo's rival. Shivers are set down Teo's spine. She goes to like every barbershop from San Andreas where you can pay for your own haircut that you currently have. Funny detail here is the UmaMusume specific chairs with the tail holes on the back. Oh look, the name of the store is the same phrase that Special Leaks said to Broy in French. Odd place to reference it, but sure. Man, this barber's complete ass. I wish they would put a whole subplot just showing how terrible she is at her job. Anyway, it's the 91 Japanese Derby. Everybody's watching and anticipate. Oh, bitch! Teo hits the default frame standing animation before performing the real Teo step on the paddock. Finally, somebody with something more than just taking off a jacket. Do you think they asked her to pose like that, or did she just do it? It's mentioned that nobody in the 8th bracket ever won the Japanese Derby. Can't confirm. Before the race, we're shown these 2 girls, Rihanna Tal and Cedar Blade, who are stand-ins for Leo Durbin and Shako Grade, who are Marzensky's son and Mr. Seabee's son, respectively. There's an animation error with Mr. Seabee. She has black hair as opposed to her usual brown hair, likely because they just matched it with what they did with Cedar Blade. During the race, we get some commentary from these two spectators. Glasses high and green-haired guy. They're credited as Musou and Minami, respectively, though these names are never mentioned in the series. They stay consistent part of an anime in almost every race from here on, and I believe they're supposed to be audience surrogates. They also exist as solid proof that UmaMusume takes place in the same universe as Kamen Rider Double, as they cameo in a series which was animated by the same studio. After Teo wins the race, Musou states, "Prodigies do exist, even though it's frustrating," which is a phrase other than a commercial for the Japanese derby. After the winning live, Okina notices that Teo's leg is trembling. The real-life Teo was also limping weirdly after winning, and it was found that his leg had been fractured. It was said that Tokai Teo hated going to the vet, so much so that he learned to recognize the veterinarian by his footsteps and ran away when he heard him approach. Funnily enough, this is a trait that comes directly from his dad. Ain't that a picture? Okina speaks with Teo, and it seems that she's insistent on running into Kikacho, so he prepares her recovery plan by buying books in big brown bags that say book on it. Hey man, you got any of those with the dollar sign on them? I want to rob a bank. As part of Teo's rehab training, they make her do that thing that Krillin and Gohan did on their way to Namek, where they just sat around materializing the power levels to help them catch up with the insane power creeps of that arc. Remember how Gohan killed Krillin? Teo does that, except with horses. Teo puts on display some toxic roommate behavior by keeping the lights on, bringing a friend over, Skype calling another friend, and lifting weights all at 2 a.m. while Mayano tries to sleep. Goldship gives Teo advice on the Kyoto racecourse where the Kikacho takes place, Goldship herself being a Kikacho winner. We see a bet from Team Canopus, and a goal that their trainer, Minamizaki, has set for them, which is to win a single G1 win. Bad news for you, pal. The entire gimmick of this team is that it's comprised entirely of jobbers, those who could not achieve a single G1 victory in this era. This does not dissuade Nice Nature, however, as she realized that she needs some more wins to qualify for the Kika show, as right after her injury, Nice Nature won 4 races in a row and was able to enter the race on time. Teo is then kidnapped by McQueen and is locked in a room with the major family physician. This is because he is the young lady's doctor. His needle of justice succeeded, and Teo's recovery has been sped up significantly. It unfortunately wasn't enough to catch her up in time, however. Teo receives news that her leg is still in no shape to race. Teo is devastated. And in the realest scene in the whole show, Teo's walking back to school, and without saying a word, she decides to speed up and run, only to slow back down and keep walking. If you ever dealt with any level of depression in your life, you've probably related to this exact situation before. Might have been in a different form, but the end result was still the same. Okina has been hard at work, tirelessly working through the night, chugging 30 24-hour drinks for maximizing efficiency to gain 720 hours in a single day, the bottles of which he threw all around the floor for some reason. Teo hides her pain to ease Okina's mind, and concedes on not being able to run the Kika show. She does ask him to take her to watch the race, however. At the 1991 Kika show, and after telling Okina to go buy some snacks, Teo watches her lifelong dream die in real time. As the bugle sounds off and the gates open, the final nail in the coffin for her chances to run in the race, and by extension, become an undefeated Triple Crown winner, is sealed. She starts projecting where she would have been during the race. As Rudolph watches her in pain, that projection shatters as all the girls in the race reject that notion, that things would have been different if Teo was there, yelling to the crowds that they would have won no matter what. It seems that regardless of Teo's ability to join the race, she was still the one who inspired all the ones who did. And in turn, they have inspired her back, allowing Teo to swear a new dream, to go from undefeated Triple Crown to simply undefeated. And that's where episode 2 ends. Kind of a heavy one, and it's only the second episode. Let's see where the rest of this goes. It's New Year's, and the team is praying for a better year than did last. Especially McQueen. As Okina mentioned in Tenno Show Autumn, Naomi McKinnon, and the Japan Cup. The latter two, McQueen simply lost. But as I mentioned before in the BNW special, despite having won first place at the Autumn Tenno Show, McQueen was disqualified due to obstruction, which almost caused a disaster near the start of the race. And Arima Kina Daitaku Helios was in the race. Nice Nature is also present, as well as Twin Jet, both Team Canopus members, who meet with Spica and they show with us their newest member, Machikane Tanhoiza, who gets cruel violence enacted on her and bleeds way more than any gag from any modern shonen ever will. And the nosebleed here is a consistent gag in this season, referencing an incident where Machikane Tanhoiza had to back out of the 1994 Japan Cup due to a bleeding nose. During their prayer, Goldship's dialogue is entirely improvised. A wild Tarzan appears, and he gives Okina the news that Teo and McQueen have been nominated for the awards by the URA. a reference to the GRA in 1991, awarding Tokai Teo as Horse of the Year, and Major McQueen as Best Older Male Horse of the Year. Seeing this, Jet Turbo declares war on Team Suika. Teo seems to agree with this concept and declares war on McQueen, promising to take her down in the Spring Tunnel show. Meanwhile, Canopus discuss their plans for taking down Suika. A nice-natured grills Turbo Jet for losing to McQueen during the Rimakinen, despite her having done the same thing. And in response, Jet Turbo says that it didn't kick in that time. It being in reference to the so-called thrusters that Turbo Twin had. And the corner is like some nerd emoji or something. I even know what this is, man. On her way back home, Teo swings by the funny honey truck while singing about how much she likes honey. To her horror and shock, though, McQueen is buying a funny honey. Soft. Light. Easy on the honey. This bitch ordered a funny honey. No honey. The barista understands the sheer audacity going on and fills only a quarter of the cup. We get to see more of McQueen and Teo's backstory, how they met, and showing that they've been rivals from the moment they arrived at the academy. Skipping ahead, we're the 1992 Hanshin Daishoten, and only 6 people are competing. This is because the race is intimidatingly long, at 3,000 meters, and the rainy weather made a lot more horses back out from it. Standing next to Goldship here is Takatoshi Imanami, her real-life groomer. And standing on top of Special Week is you, sweetheart. Nah, the cake is a reference to the fact that it was the birthday of Major McQueen's jockey, Yutaka Take, as it was March 15th, as he was riding him on this very race, in which he turned 23 years old. It's on Special Week's head, most likely because he also rode Special Week, although he did ride vodka as well. McQueen wins. Musou and Minami make remarks about looking forward to her race against Teo, and inside the first interaction with Kida-san and Diamond. We start off at the 1992 Osaka High, a G2 race that they treat as Z1 race, so they could show off Teo's brand new outfit. I'm not sure what the design is supposed to be attributing to. I couldn't find any source of Tokai Teo or his jockey wearing something like this. If you know what it's supposed to be, leave a comment letting me know. She's gotta go up against the same girl that defeated McQueen. Teo's in third, and the two in front of him don't matter. Was a real phrase controversially uttered by the commentator in this race. Teo wins, and I'm pretty sure the other girl is hitting the Yamcha pose in the background. Sakura Bakshino approaches Mihono Bourbon during lunch, and offers for her to become a sprinting horse. Bourbon declines, saying it's against the wishes of her master, and is referring to the fact that Bourbon had the natural talent to become a sprinter, but his trainer saw his potential in him, something greater, and thus trained him for longer distances. Bakshin is also from the same generation as Bourbon. We see Major Palmer getting a divination from Machikani Fukukitaru, and she's told that the path to her success starts with fighting a rival. Immediately after exiting the shop, she comes across Daitako Helios, and the two quickly become friends. The two real-life counterparts had an interesting relationship, as they were horses with pretty different distant aptitudes. However, they were both front-runners, and in the times that they raced together, they would always run side by side, and thus their association with one another came to be. Helios had a track record of his fans making up stupid nicknames for him, and anything he'd get up to, really. And of course, this newly formed duo was no different, being given the name Band of I can't say that. We get to actually see Bourbon's so-called master, Koronuma, who is directly based on his voice actor, Takaya Kuroda. You'd most likely recognize him best as Kiryu Kazuma. Team Canopus discuss the Teo step with each other. Jet Fuel says,
That's easy!
And tries it out. And just as Minamizaki arrives, everyone in Team Canopus has passed away. Back to Team Suika, both McQueen and Teo start training separate from one another. McQueen trains with the 2 tennis show winners, and Teo trains with the 2 who have never even raced there. You can see where this is going. Right now, it's the 1992 Satsuki show, where Mihono Bourbon races against Matakani Tannhäuser. Suika watches the race from their phones. Halfway through, they spontaneously transform into ice show speed. Mihono Bourbon wins. During the press conference, I am ready to run to the end of the earth, was said by Teo. Then I will run to the sky, was the reply by McQueen. These are real phrases spoken by the jockeys, Okabe Yukio and Yutaka Take. McQueen reads a newspaper that cuts off Teo's head and puts it in her body to fake a victory over McQueen. Newspapers were actually doing this sort of thing in those days. Teo meets up with Rudolph to drink some mustard while McQueen speaks with her evil-looking grandma, who advises her not to worry about Teo, and only keep the goal in mind. It is a reference to when journalists asked Yutaka Take if he was concerned about facing Tokai Teo, replying that he's only focused on the goal, and nothing else. We're shown that in this room, 3 Tenno Show trophies are on display. One earned by McQueen, another by his father, and the last by his grandfather, showing what this race means for her lineage. The reigning versus the undefeated. Today, two champions come face to face, and everybody's arguing on who's going to win. Dolce makes a YouTube video that is one-to-one with her pack of two VTuber videos, which are all hosted on the official UmaMusume channel. Mihono Bourbon is chased by a stalking rice shower, and around this time, Bourbon's owner saw rice shower as a growing concern, because he had to face him very often, and each time, rice shower would close in more and more. Bourbon was still winning, but the threat of rice shower grew bigger and bigger. Teo encounters double turbo for the first time. Screw McQueen, this is the real threat right here. Musume and Minami, Apple fans that they are, decide to camp outside the race course, but are surprised to find these two unattended elementary school girls from very rich families have already beat them to the punch. Come on, man. No bodyguards? No butlers? Nothing? Regardless, this is it. The 1992 Tenno Show Spring. We see that McQueen is donning a new outfit, reflecting the color of his coat becoming white this year. The tension is at its highest, with everyone trying to figure out who could possibly win between these two, and in real-life race most were in favor of Tokai Teo, despite the fact he has never participated in a long-distance race before this. Side note, made him his glasses from the side piss me off. This one girl is glowing. Every time I looked into what it could possibly be, I got a different answer. When in doubt, assume it's simply aura farming. McQueen's horseshoe fell off, causing an 8-minute delay for the race. Despite this being considered bad omen, McQueen finishes first, with Teo at 5th place. The two hug it out, but it's with this that Teo's original dream is completely dead. Teo has fractured her leg again. We see this while she's zoning out in class. I'm not sure if this is a sound engineering error right here. If you didn't catch it, right after the flashback ends, there's a squeak from Teo and a stick noise. This is either the sound of her leg breaking and her falling, or much more likely, it's supposed to be the sound of the teacher hitting her for not paying attention during class. We see that Major McQueen was also injured during the race. McQueen's injury was significantly more severe than that of Tokai Teo. It was still Teo's dream that was shattered during that race, and ever since she's been completely out of it. We see Palmer taking on an interview after the 1992 Tekorizuka Kinen, a race McQueen would have been in if it had not been for his injuries. It was because of this that nobody from the Major family showed up to see the race, and as Palmer notes, not even her trainer showed up to watch her. In reality, nobody believed that Palmer would win, and only one stable worker from the farm showed up to watch. It was reported that the win was so unexpected, the worker passed out from shock and missed the entire winning ceremony. In my opinion, this makes Palmer's friendship with Helios all the sweeter, as she's the one person that's there for her. Helios herself placing 5th in the Tekorizuka Kinen. A segment comes on from Mihono Bourbon. The title of Incline Prodigy is written on it. Most horses could only do 1 uphill training per day, but due to the harsh training that Bourbon went under, he could do up to 4 per day. She inspects some posters, and 2 among them are for T. Campella. They were present in Season 1, but I forgot to mention them, so now is a good time. This team is one owned by the Satono family, and will be a major part of Season 3. She notices Rice Shower right behind her, and whatever's going on between these two, it's definitely on now. And just like that, Rice wins. The 92 Kika show flashes by and Mihono Bourbon eats dirt. Everybody watches in disappointment as yet another Triple Crown is gone like the wind. During the interview after the race, Bourbon says she'll use the experience for the better, and that she'll win next time. Unfortunately for the real Bourbon, this chance would never come, as this was the last race he ever ran. The 92 Japan Cup is not adapted into the anime. There are a few reasons, but generally, it would go against the direction the story is telling here. This is supposed to be the low point for Teo's career. It wouldn't make sense to show her winning a big race like that in the middle. Not only that, but Tokai Teo was the first Japanese horse to win the Japan Cup since Symboli Rudolph, making it a much more major win. So it would not make sense for that reason. However, it also has to do with the fact they chose to adapt an early 90s era after having adapted a late 90s one, where we see that El Condor Pasa won the Japan Cup, meaning that in this timeline, it wouldn't hold the same context, and would make no sense. I'll speak more on that later. For now, we skip ahead to the 92 Arima Kinen, where Teo mentions she hit her butt on the gate, which did in fact happen. My sources also mentioned that Teo accidentally ate some pesticide and had explosive diarrhea at this time. Palmer and Helios are once again running together at the front. The Taco Helios runs with a big smile on her face, a reference to how the real horse would often bare his teeth while running, which made a lot of people mock him, as he looked like he was smiling like an idiot. Palmer takes first while Helios falls behind, and okay, this is definitely a Yamcha thing. And Palmer becomes the 5th horse in history to win both Japan Grand Prix races in the same year. Teo is injured again. And of course, this calls for more speaker shenanigans. Teo eventually meets with McQueen, who introduces her to the Major family doctor. The ED changes alongside Teo's motivation, from following in Rudolph's footsteps to having McQueen as her rival. It's 1993. After Major McQueen took an almost year-long rest, he comes back to absolutely destroy the Osaka High. We hear from the TV that Tannhäuser defeated Reischauer in G2 race. This was the 1993 Meguro Keenan, where Reischauer got second place. Palmer and Helios flash back to the Tenno Show Autumn, where you can see that Tokai Teo had also participated, and lost while trying to catch their pace. The focus of the episode makes itself clear, however, as Reischauer inspects a newspaper calling her the Black Assassin, which will thwart everyone else's dreams. Rice tells McQueen that she will not be running at the Tenno Show. This causes a concern that she discusses with her team, during which Scarlet and Vodka had a notable background conversation. Vodka says Scarlet would fake fevers to avoid races. Scarlet did have a fever that made her avoid the 2007 Japanese Oaks, a race that Vodka won. In turn, Scarlet says that Vodka pulls the whole maybe he'll run, maybe he'll not scheme, which is in reference to how Vodka would get the most votes to join the 2008 Grand Prix races, but she did not end up running in either of them. The team starts a montage harassing Reischauer into joining the Tenno Show, during which we see that Rice can't bend for shit, while Teo holds the record for flexibility. This was true of both real horses. This goes on until Svika gives up, and goes back to the good old ways of straight-up kidnapping Rice, and torturing her in a shipping container for 6 hours. From which they extract information that Reischauer is feeling down because she got booed and vilified after defeating Mihono Bourbon, going against her entire reason for running. They'll let Reischauer go, but keep the ropes on her for extra cruelty. McQueen tasks Teo with making Rice race in the Tenno Show anyway. The next day, Teo has a heart-to-heart with an injured Bourbon about how they're both complete goofballs who botched the easiest Triple Crown. Like, god damn! They both team up to chase Reischauer for the whole day. Rice tries to Naruto run away, but to no avail. They just won't stop following her. Reischauer says that she doesn't want to run, because unlike these two, she's a heel. Bourbon replies, no, you're my hero! Heel or Hero was a tagline used alongside Reischauer to promote the JRA, although this only came about after his death. You know, when people realized they bullied this poor horse his whole life, and they only got sympathetic after he was gone. Regardless, Rice gives in, and agrees to run at the Tenno Show. We get a unique ending for this episode, showing Rice's journey up until this point. I'm still kinda lost as to why she carries a knife at all times, but I think I better keep that to myself.
Leo Burnett is the devil. 4 kids in Leo Burnett.
So, the opening changes, going from showing Haihide as the final boss to giving us an extended clip of Reischauer, and the posing in the glowing blue eyes in reference to a 2012 JRA commercial, titled The Winner. This is also where the phrase heel or hero for Reischauer was popularized. Speaker reading a newspaper showing that BNW are the next young generation of racers.
Huh?
So what happened to the BNW special? What if they raced long before any of these guys? Well, let me explain. It has to do with the weird generational timeline stuff we're going through right now. Season 1 was focused on the 98 golden generation. B&W was the forefront of the 93 generation. So obviously, with that line of thinking, they came first. But Season 2 focused on the 91 generation, which means B&W would come after, which would also make sense, had it not been for the B&W special. So that just means the B&W special is not canon. Simple, right? Well now, it is canon. It has to be. Because a lot of gags from it are carried over to Season 2 and 3. Namely, the mini rivalry thing going on between Uraro and Beachin, the chanting of sweets during training, and the cutout of Hichi Amazon on the track, just to name a few. So is it canon? I don't know. But I'll put up a poll once this video goes live so you can answer that exact question. Back to the anime though. Reischauer skips school to train. Tannhäuser comments that she might have just ate something funny, like a spider. Machikane Tannhäuser did eat a spider himself, causing him to get ill and miss the 1994 Arima Keenan. Kida-san Black and Santono Diamond are now camping outside with Muso and Minami. It seems that this group has officially become friends with one another. And the day of the race is here. The power of Sans Undertale fuels Reischauer just as it did with Grass Wonder. She even appears directly to comment on this, as the connection between these two is more than superficial, both having shared the same jockey, Hitoshi Matoba. Major Palmer's frontrunning in this race has caused it to be the fastest-paced Tenno show to date, with the first 4 horses to cross the finish line, all having broken the previous record for it. Reischauer is victorious, and the crowd goes silent in disappointment yet again. However, one person starts clapping, McQueen. This is to represent that despite being booed by the crowd, it was McQueen's jockey, Yutaka Take, who showed great amounts of sportsmanship and support for Reischauer's victory. Econo Dictus is the one to speak to McQueen about her loss. Fitting, considering that Econo Dictus is nicknamed McQueen's wife. as he was her first mating partner after his retirement. It was also said that McQueen would generally behave better when Dictus was around. She was considered very attractive by horse standards. This is the reason why the two are roommates.
God, they were roommates.
Which, funnily enough, is never mentioned throughout the season. Early in the morning, McQueen catches Teo on her morning jog, and Teo chooses the Takarazuka Kinen as her comeback race, one which McQueen will also be participating. After McQueen drives off, Teo outspeeds their car, disrespecting her entire lineage. Damn! White women truly have no limits. At the 1993 Nippon Derby, we see a heated race between BNW, with Winning Ticket exclaiming that this is the derby she's always dreamed of. This is referring to the dream of Shibata Masato, who has attempted the derby for the last 18 years of his life, finally achieving it alongside Winning Ticket. At the 93 Yasuda Kirin, Kaedientes earned second place. Fellow UmaMusume Nishino Flower was also present, placing 10th, yet makes no appearance in the anime. The winner of this race was Yamamen Zephyr, who later did get adapted into UmaMusume. Here's a comparison between the designs. Teo meets up with the president, whom we haven't seen in a long time, and the most death-flaggy scene imaginable. Teo promises Rudolph that she'll give her a great performance at the Takarazuka Kinen. Teo meets with her sworn enemy, Hatsune Miku, and they agree to engage in combat once she's won the Tanabata show. However, the rest of Team Kanopas take her away because according to them, Miku has brain damage. Teo then sticks on her wall a new goal, to win the Takarazuka Kinen. That is 3 back-to-back promises that she made. I'm sure you can guess what happens next. Can I get a 1, and a 2, and a...
Everything that I bear, praise the Lord. Price your price with.
Teo's third fracture having become reoccurring, she's told that she has a lower chance of recovery, and that she should never race again. Everyone is devastated. The only people shown to be hopeful about the situation are children and fools. We don't get to see the 93 Takarazuka Kinen in full, only that McQueen won, and Teo missed her chance to race alongside her. Teo picks up her team leader side quests again, going into town in her wheelchair. She takes note of the fact that people talk to her as if she already died. I can't really blame them. McQueen goes up to Teo like, "Hey, paraplegic, top my shit, since I got legs and you don't and all that." She starts doing laps in front of Teo to rub it in. Teo starts bawling her eyes out. McQueen keeps asking her about the time over and over again. I have no idea if this was intentional, but this was really mean-spirited from McQueen. Kidison Black is making a charm for Teo. It's shown that she and Saturn Diamond are in the same class, despite the fact that according to Season 3, as well as real life, Kidison is 1 year older than Diamond. On her phone we see news that include the Kika Show, a race which Biwa Hayahide won. Teo is missing, and especially comes up with just about the dumbest plan conceived by the UmaMusume to get her back. Just saying, if it was me in that room, somebody was gonna have to hold me back. As it turns out though, Teo is handing in her letter of resignation to Okino. Logical conclusion, as Twin Double just won the 93 Tanabata show, baby! This was actually the biggest achievement by the real-life horse at this time, and the commentary here is accurate as well. No wonder Teo would have to retire, she'd never beat this. This race ever grabs the attention of the president, who is watching it on her phone instead of the TV for some reason. Got a big ol' flat screen for nothing. Teo comes to speak with her directly about the retirement. After which Teo decides she'll spend the whole day out for fun. Her character song comes on, and she's seen singing it at the karaoke place. This was the exact same song she was seen singing back in Season 1. She clearly doesn't know how to use a photo booth because she takes the same prison mugshot 4 times in a row. At the end of the day, Teo realizes just how depressing the neat lifestyle really is. Luckily for her, Kidison was waiting outside her school the whole day to give her a good luck charm. Teo responds with a 1,000-yard stare, only seen in one of those Serbian videos, and breaks little Kira-chan's heart by rejecting her gift. A letter of challenge is on Teo's door. It seems she'll have to confront Dual Turbo sooner or later. Okino and Hana meet at Bar Big Song, a reference to Bar Little Song from Mahina Matsuri, an anime from the same director. After laying the news to Team Speaker, Teo comes to pack her bags. But Okino proposes the idea for Teo to perform a concert at the upcoming fan festival. Teo agrees. But oh no! The day of the fan festival is the same date as Turbo Fuel's challenge! This realization comes to Turbo, and for the first time ever, a single neuron fires up in her brain for her to think that maybe, just maybe, she should ask Teo directly to get her confirmation. She confronts Teo, who is dancing in the academy parking lot.
ああ君かダブルジェット
His name is Lee, goddammit.
Teo scolds Turbo, telling her that no, she's not gonna be running into 1993 all-comers because she's not running at all. She then bullies Turbo for no reason by telling her that she wouldn't be able to win regardless, even if Teo was there or not, causing Turbo to cry, which Teo ignores and goes back to dancing. This vexes me greatly. Listen, I don't care if you're paralyzed. If you make Oomphy cry, you've now crossed the line. Turbo and the others ask their useless-ass trainer to do something about it, and if Berserk has taught me anything, it's that you should never trust a twink, because the first instinct that this man comes up with is terrorism. During Teo's concert, Kidison calls out for her, and everybody goes quiet while this little girl is on the verge of tears for about 15 seconds straight. Everyone starts cheering for Teo to come back, but the moment is cut short by Team Canopus violently pinning down Meisha Dodo as she's crying, and hijacking the event to make the screen display the 93 all-comers race, where one girl is leading far ahead from her competition, and her name is Twin Turbo! The commentator says that she's running like a fugitive, which was one of Twin Turbo's real-life nicknames. She calls out to Teo, showing her what true strength and willpower looks like. Rudolph just lets this all happen, by the way, and after much peer pressure, Teo agrees to come back. Just like last season's episode 11, this one's also 90% filler. Teo is back in action, and she has to spawn several horses for Okino, all of which being participants in the Rimakinen. Her disguise for this is a reference to the main character of a Japanese 80s show, called Detective Story. Interestingly, she has an actual lit cigarette in her mouth, as opposed to a lollipop or something. The legal smoking age in Japan is 20. So, what's going on here, big guy? Teo says that Winning Ticket's motto is to be a powerful lady. Powerful lady being the name of Winning Ticket's mother. Biwa Hide approaches Teo and makes a remark about the decarbonated cola she's drinking and how it affects athletes. While a real thing, it's likely this was more of a reference to a similar scene from Baki the Grappler. When Teo passes Turbo, she calls her master, a reference to Twin Turbo being called a master comedian. Teo thanks everyone in Speaker for what they did, but they get a really big booger in their nose, so they have to pick it out. All that's left is to thank McQueen too, but she can't bring herself to do it. Also, when the teacher hits Twin Turbo here, it definitely confirms to me that whatever just happened in episode 6 was definitely a mistake.
どうしちゃうんって
Special Leak saying Agama-sen was a huge meme in the Japanese community, to the point that some mad lad straight up named his horse after it. Spatchan and Teo go trying to find a gift for McQueen. They made Kidison and Diamond dress up for Halloween. It was this scene where something clicked for me that just made things weird. Teo is about the same height as these two kids, and vocally sounds younger than them. I cannot mentally buy them being that much younger than her, despite there being an implied decade between them. Anyway, Teo gets the idea to invite McQueen on a date. And this is where the rest of the episode becomes straight Yuri bait, with no trivia for me to talk about. At the end, they both promise each other that they'll race at their Rimakinen. Oh boy, again with the promises. If you happen to forget about last episode's death flag, McQueen makes another one to Teo before discovering she has something wrong with her leg. It's the 1993 Kika show, where Biwa Hide wins, breaking the record that Rice Shower set the previous year. McQueen wasn't with Speaker to spectate though, so Teo grabs a gift for her and goes to pay her a visit at her house. She sings a little song for us on the way. Wait, can she say that? The butler informs Teo that McQueen contracted ligamentitis. Ligma, huh? Ligma balls, LMAO! The butler gets a call informing him that McQueen went missing. Teo immediately runs to find her training by her lonesome. The Fall Tenno show is in 4 days, and McQueen can't afford to miss it. She tries to force herself to continue training, but collapses to the ground. The pain is too much to bear. McQueen is powerless, and there's nothing else she can do but cry. Teo tells her to accept the situation, as it's something she herself went through. It took miracle after miracle for Teo to continue as she was, and promises McQueen that she'll be able to run again someday too. As proof, she promises McQueen that she'll win at the Rimakinen. Teo walks off with newfound resolve. Then credits are changed from this one too, putting us in McQueen's perspective, with the vocal roles of the song being swapped between her and Teo, and the ending scene showing the promise Teo made to her. That damn booger came back with a vengeance. The title of the episode is Yume wa Kakeru, the same as the song in the opening, which translates to Galloping After Our Dreams. It's actually the same name as the photo album made for Toka Teo after his retirement. In that spirit, Teo has committed to a new dream, to win the 93 Arima Kinen, and she dons her old outfit for this race. Nice Nature welcomes Teo back for the racetrack. These two are actually distantly related, as Nice Nature's father is Teo's grandfather. During the race, we get to see yet another heavy breathing scene as Teo closes in. And to everyone's surprise, defeats Miwa Hide, breaking 2 new records in the process. The first is winning a G1 race after a full year of absence, the longest in history up to that point. The second is that he and Sabali Rudolph became the first father and son to have won the Arima Kinen. Nice Nature also breaks a new record with the 3rd place position, having collected the same exact non-first place spot on the same race 3 times over. Musou and Minami make a callback to the first episode. Everybody's happy with Teo's victory. Suzuka even makes a surprise appearance, and the world just seems that much brighter. Capping off the season, we got a teaser featuring Kitasan Black and Cesaro Diamond, now grown up, attending their first day of school at Grayson, and finish off with one last race between Teo and McQueen. What a season! This blew my expectations coming from Season 1, and shows the growth that the series underwent since 2018. A significant sense of maturity is shown from the season compared to the last, as I feel it definitely handled its heavier subject matter a lot better, and it respected the audience enough to not sugarcoat any of it. For example, compare the scene where Teo falls to when Suzuka does the same. The violence involved shocked me at first, not because of the violence itself, but more along the lines of damn, they really just did that to her. To understand what I mean, you have to think about the source material, the intended audience, and the desired result. Realize that this anime is a promotion for an idle horse gacha game. The general desire and intent for all the things portrayed here is to make you want to play the game and eventually spend money on it. It's that simple. Keeping the anime restricted to cute girls doing cute things and nothing more would have been the safe and most likely option for any company trying to sell you these characters. We live in an age where a lot of these things, especially when it comes to Japanese media properties, are often sanitized for the sake of appealing to a wider audience. It's why Dragon Ball Super doesn't have blood in it, despite being a show all about fighting. So seeing UmaMusume take a firm stance in adapting these stories of the real horses, without pulling punches, reminds me why it stands out among many others of its kind. The way McQueen ugly cries near the end isn't something they'd show if they wanted to keep the character clean and marketable. So an obvious priority on the story over anything else is clear. The journey of seeing Teo physically and mentally broken again and again, to finally see her stand tall at the end. It's beautifully well done. But there's an elephant in the room that can't be ignored. The Skip Japan Cup. I'd explain the what and why behind it, but I feel like there could have been better ways of handling it. As it currently stands, Teo's biggest achievement, and possibly the most important race of his life, is not adapted for the sake of keeping the story consistent with itself, as it'd be odd for that to happen right in the middle of Teo's low point, and would contrast with the message that the season is going for. I just praised it for putting story first, and I do truly understand why the choice was made. But ideally, it would have been implemented in some way, while being able to keep the plotline intact. The issue starts with one of the bigger criticisms of mine, Teo's relationship with Rudolph. It's clear that a core theme of the story is Teo starting out by following in Rudolph's footsteps, but after eventually failing her dreams, she finds new meaning in her rivalry with McQueen. But the issue comes from the fact that Rudolph's character suffers from this. She isn't handled the best, and I sometimes forget she was even supposed to be there. She feels less like someone Teo idolizes, and more like her mom who shows up sometimes. Which is fine for what they were going for, but I felt like something more could have been done about it. And I did come to mind that if the story were rewritten, it would include the Japan Cup at different points in Teo's natural progression. This win would signify her original dream being fulfilled, that of which to become someone great like Rudolph. But it wouldn't hit the same for her as she expected, as by this point, she would have been all about McQueen, and I'd possibly put aside her original feelings towards wanting to become like Rudolph. But every time I think about it, the whole thing is a catch-22. Either it doesn't get properly adapted, and Teo actually managing to follow in Rudolph's footsteps isn't acknowledged, or it does get adapted, and she wins, but it's entirely meaningless. As some random other person won that cup back in Season 1. I'm kinda stumped on what I would even do in this situation. They unintentionally messed things up for themselves by having this weird timeline going on. So all things considered, I guess this is as good as it could have been given the circumstances. For now, let's talk about some other things of note. The animation was greatly improved, the CGI especially. It looks like they started using in-game models for them. The characters stay on model, and the racing scenes are better directed than last time. There's a lot more energy within the characters compared to their Season 1 iterations. Visually speaking, McQueen's mental breakdown was beautiful to look at. This season fixed the side character problem of Season 1, and dedicated a lot of screen time to its ensemble. From Musume and Minume's race knowledge dumps to the escalating rivalry between the barber and her customer, every character got at least one moment to shine. Rice Shower's arc was executed very well. I'm glad that they don't soil it at the end by having people cheer for her. Keeping it real and not softening the blow was a good call. They do a good job of setting up Kiedis and Black as the Tono Diamondo's future protagonist. I actively looked forward to see them taking center stage. A surprise standout among the cast was Twin Turbo. Memes aside, she brought a lot of fun to the show, and genuinely made me smile when she was on screen. The main cast were no slouches though. Major McQueen brought along many of the greatest moments of the season, and Okino definitely kept his GOAT status, especially in the first half. Most of all, I found Taya to be a significantly more appealing and interesting protagonist than Special Week. If it were up to me, I'd have her be the representative of the franchise. She's much more suited to the role in my opinion. I sympathize with her struggle. At many points she did everything right, and yet had the things she sought out taken away from her, being robbed of even the mere chance of fulfilling her dream. I also have to give props to Machiko for her portrayal of the character. Many of the most emotional scenes were elevated by her acting. She's the best choice for Teo that I could think of, and I don't believe she could have done a better job. But I guess with that being said, I should address our previous protagonist, or whatever's left of her, that is. It would seem that unbeknownst to the rest of us, Special received a lobotomy between seasons. Nay, the truth is this is what happens when you take away the protagonist role from her. You'll see how much of an empty, hollow-boned, disgusting, and useless character she is. I legitimately wish at several points that she had her own trip to America this season. She wasted screen time better spent elsewhere. She was meant to be comic relief, but she forgot to be actually funny while doing so. For the rest of it, she's either crying or just repeating what the other person just said. She adds nothing to the show. The one thing she's ever been useful for this whole season was holding the phone that Suzuka is inside of. If you think that it seems like I hate Special Week right now, it's not me you should be looking at. The sheer contempt can only be coming from the writers. You have to hate your previous protagonist to just turn them into a brain-dead infantilized bastardization like this. I can't believe I'm saying this, but guys, I'm starting to miss the old Special Week. Season 2 was heartbreaking, inspiring, and wildly entertaining. It should be no surprise to anyone that it's going to the top of the ranking. I hope that you'll all join me next time, where I will cover Pretty Derby's finale, Season 3.